welcome once again. I mentioned 4 people that I'm going to introduce, but there's a 5th person that I'm going to introduce, which is something very special for our agenda this evening. District 71 is privileged to now have a poet in residence, someone who is going to bring wonderful spoken words to us. And that person is a member of our district. She's called Anya O'Neill, and I would like to introduce her now. So Anya, would you now like to take the stage and give us a poem, please?
Sure, thanks very much. My poem is called Turn the Key. Feeling shy and nervous, I set out on a trip. The door shut tight behind me. I felt the fear take its grip. Just how would I manage? What was in store? Would people like me, all those that had gone before? I arrived at the hall and timidly took my seat. But I was greeted with a smile, even handed a feedback sheet. As the meeting flowed on, I barely noticed the time. The room was full of laughter, people speaking in their prime. And so it began, this journey of great heart, this epic encounter where all can take their part, where effort and wisdom combine and come together, where people shine and catch their dreams and change their lives forever. So turn the key and open the door. Take hold of the ropes, sail your ship from the shore. The new year is here, let your courage mount. Set forth on your path, make every step count.
Thank you, Anya. Please give Anya a great round of applause for that. I love the inspiring start and the call to action for all of us to make every step count this year. On that topic then of making every step count and doing wonderful things throughout the rest of this year, I would like to introduce our district director, Mr. Daniel Sanders. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Welcome, everybody. Welcome our most distinguished guests. Welcome past International President Ted Corcoran. Welcome Lance Miller. Welcome to you all, guests near and far. I'd like to set out a vision for my district this year. I'd really like us to return to a sense of ambition, to be able to dream, to believe and achieve. A while ago, JFK gave America a big audacious goal to land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth within the decade. That had a powerful and transformative effect on America. It took them to the head of the space race from being runner-up, and they achieved it. There may have been many days in the office when they didn't think it was a good idea, but by crikey, they did it. So I would like this district to begin to dream again of being top of the world with what we do and what we love. I'd like us to believe in that dream. And I'd like us to achieve it, to go out there and to make a difference. We're talking about club growth, the Growth Academy tonight. And this is a really great initiative by my colleague, Elizabeth Jordan. That map you see there are McDonald's restaurants. They cite McDonald's restaurants in populations of around 10,000 people. We could have a club where every single one of those dots are. And why don't we? Why do we not make self-improvement and the passion for Toastmasters more readily available than junk food? We can do it. We can dream it, we can believe it, and we can achieve it. In the States, over 60% of Fortune 500 companies have Toastmasters programs running within them. Let's do the same for the FTSE 500. Let's have that over here, please. Dream it, believe it, and let's achieve it this year with the Growth Academy in the lead. And to throw some icing on the cake, as we go through this year, we are approaching the 50th anniversary of this district's birth. So why not be one of the top districts in the world for growth? Why not make our first ever District 71 Governor memory proud, Ben Marriott from the South End Club? And to take this out, at the end of my year, next August at the World Convention, if we get a podium finish in Paris as a distinguished district. And it'll be the first time in about 6 years to become a distinguished district. And what's more, if we grow by 8%, we become a Smedley distinguished district. We'll get one of those banners that you see there with District 71 on it. And we can parade that through the cafes and bars of Paris right through the night, drinking, dancing, celebrating, and all those Toastmasters from around the world recognizing and celebrating District 71 as a powerhouse. I leave that thought with you and hand the stage now back to Elizabeth Jordan.
Thank you, District Director. I'd like to say hello to past International President Ted Corcoran, our very, very special guest tonight, Lance Miller, dignitaries, division directors, area directors, Toastmasters from around the world. I know we've got people in from South Africa, I think possibly the Caribbean, across Europe. You're all very welcome. Tonight, D71 is embarking on a bold new venture. The launch of a growth academy. I am so excited about this, and I hope you are too. And certainly by the end of the evening, I hope you will be, and you'll be running there to sign up to be part of the academy, to contribute to the academy. And as our district director said, this is our 50th year. This is a chance for us to have that podium finish in Paris, but above all, to be ambitious and to go for Smedley Distinguished. So the Growth Academy, fine words, but what does it mean in practice? Give me 1 second to share a couple of slides with you. Can you see my slides? Can someone indicate you can see the slides?
We can see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Sorry, the messages are coming up. Page down. Oops. So my slides aren't behaving as I expect them to. Yes, okay. So what is this Growth Academy? In a sentence, it's really a hub of excellence, expertise, and experience. It will help us to build new clubs and to reinvigorate our existing clubs. In other words, it's going to underpin the district mission, which, as we know, is to build new clubs and to help its existing clubs succeed and to thrive. We're going to provide tools, tips, and templates to our VPMs and to area directors and division directors. We're going to embark on brainstorming and ideation sessions so we can pull out those great ideas from our members. We're going to offer masterclasses, and one of the people who will come back and do a full masterclass for us is our special guest, Lance Miller. And then, of course, we're going to underpin all this with deep marketing analysis that will drive the differentiated strategies we need for success. These are just some of the things that this hub is going to offer. So what does it look like? It's a little bit, this is a bit busy, but the key things for you to focus on are, number one, you've got this is all part of the district. So there's a club growth director who is there. We have a growth academy chair whom you will meet, who will speak after me. We then have two branches because we're literally doing two things. We're growing by building new clubs, and we're growing and keeping a sustainable organization by keeping our clubs sustainable. Our new growth will come from corporate clubs, community clubs, and niche clubs. And then sustainable, we've got high member clubs that we can definitely learn from. We've got medium level and we've got low levels. Each of these branches will need different growth strategies. And we are going to do this, as I said, by deep analysis. And we've got a whole lot of tools and resources. What is really important, though, is that we have people who want to make this work. The core team of the academy as I said, it's led by Gavin Gallagher, who you'll hear from in a minute. Zain Al Abidin is going to lead a new club branch. He has got a formidable reputation for building new corporate and community clubs. So he comes with a track record. Sue Burnett, well-known, demonstrated excellence during the conference. She knows all about helping struggling clubs succeed. And she's got the energy, the enthusiasm, the expertise to definitely make that happen. Steve Campion, a lot of you know Steve is, I'll call Mr. P. He's the man who knows the processes, the policies, the procedures. He will keep us right. And he's a great project manager. And of course, there's Elizabeth Jordan, that's myself. I'm the club growth director. Many of you will know me from last year as the PRM. So we are the core team who will be working on this. We'll be talking to each other daily at the moment, but certainly throughout the year. Now, who else will make up the Growth Academy? Apart from the core team, we have volunteers of expertise that have already come forward. We've got people with marketing expertise, data processing expertise. They've been club coaches, club mentors, and they've all said, we want to help. The DLT members, all 7 of us will be members of the Academy, as will the 12 division directors, because they have to cascade a lot of the thinking, the ideas and so on to the areas and to the clubs. So they're going to be part of it. And I think what is going to make this a bit unique is we're also going to invite special advisors. Some will be international, some will be local. And these are people, rather like that organization set up by Nelson Mandela, where he had himself and Clinton and Carter, like we want wise heads. They can be young or old, but these are people who we can go to them and they can help advise us about how this academy is going. So we think we've got the makings of, a great core team, as well as, an amazing core team, as well as people who want to help. And tonight, as I speak to you, I'm really appealing to all members in D71. I want you to, we want you to see this as your academy. The DD has set out the district store. We want to go for Smedley. We want to be bold. We want to be ambitious. And this will only happen because of individual members. Remember that saying, remember the member. That all happens at the club level. We all have a part to play. So for the most part, you don't have to worry about how all this has come together. What you've got to remember is this email address, growthacademy@d71toastmasters.org. Write to us with your queries, your questions, your ideas and your suggestions. And behind the scenes, the core team and the wider team, because the way we're going to do this, we're going to be forming, this is going to happen through teams. So we're going to be forming teams. Some teams will maybe last a month or a week. Some teams will happen throughout the year. This is going to be teams helping teams, helping teams. It's really going to, that's how we see it working. So just to sum up, we have got this concept of a hub of excellence and expertise. It's going to underpin growth, and the growth is all about building new clubs and helping strengthen existing clubs. We're going to do it slightly differently because we're calling an academy because we really want great synergy between the learnings we've got from within the academy, from beyond the academy, and from within our district. We're looking for something different. And I think the poet, in a sense, has helped us because she's said something I think is really important. Turn the key. We need to turn the key on D71, open that door and do something different. I'm certainly desperately, desperately excited about this. And I hope you are. I'm now going to introduce Gavin Gallagher, who is the chair of the Growth Academy. It wasn't a difficult decision to choose Gavin because he's got what it takes. He is the main man. He's an entrepreneur, well-known in his circles. He's the director of the East Point Business Park in Dublin. He's a Toastmaster, a member of 2 clubs, passionate Toastmaster. If you go to Clubhouse, you may hear him occasionally on Clubhouse, but above all, he's got the passion for growth and to make this work. So what I would like to do now is to hand the stage over to Gavin to tell you his story about what he wants to do for the Growth Academy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Wow. I'm so excited now. You've got me all fired up. Your enthusiasm is infectious, and I'm very grateful for the kind words that you've had. I'm hoping that I'm going to live up to it. I kind of thought to myself, "Whoa!" After that introduction, it's kind of all downhill from here. And especially when you're preceding a world champion speaker, So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow District 71 members. And beyond, I see a couple of members there from South Africa and places like that. So it's very interesting to see you guys from so far afield. You're all very, very welcome. A very warm welcome to you all. A lot of familiar faces here in front of me, a lot of friendly faces. And I'd just like to thank you all for your time this evening, or in Lance's case, this morning, just for this launch of the D71 Growth Academy. I promise to keep this kind of short because I'm sure the burning question is, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And so I'm going to get into that right away. So Elizabeth has very articulately explained what the Growth Academy is about, what it's going to do, who's going to be involved, and we would like you all to be involved as well. But I thought we might just get into a little bit of the why. Why did Elizabeth decide to kick off this initiative in the first place, and why did I agree to kind of jump on board? And I like Daniel's statement there beforehand, dream, believe, achieve. I think it's a great time to do this. This is the 50th year anniversary, I believe, of District 71. So I'm not far behind myself now, so I feel a special affinity to the club or to the district for that reason. But let's begin with the why. And from my perspective, it was really just down to one sentence, and that is that club growth is hard work. And wouldn't it just be a fantastic thing to be able to create as Elizabeth says, a hub where you can go and you can visit and you can get guidance and you can get support for growing your club. And a hub of excellence is a great idea. You don't have to look far to understand why it's necessary. 50 years is a great length of time that we've had this district in place. But you only have to look at the last few years to see the challenges that the district has faced. And some of the challenges that are ahead of us are to try to turn those challenges around. I'm sure this actually faces other districts as well. In the Toastmasters year that has just gone by, District 71 had 10 new clubs chartered, which is great news, and we all like to see new clubs chartered. But in the very same time period, 11 clubs, I'm sorry to say, disappeared, and leaving us with a net minus figure at the end of this year. Now, of course, it's very easy for us to just point to the COVID pandemic and saying, there's the culprit, that's the reason why this isn't normally the case. But if you go back to the 2019-2020 season, we suffered a similar decline, and 15 new clubs chartered and 13 clubs closed down in the very same period. Now, again, COVID was part of the season, so you could blame that. But if we go back to the 2017-2018 time, that was long before COVID even entered our vocabulary. 18 clubs were chartered and 13 closed down. So it is a challenge that the district faces. And I think it's down to the fact that we are all volunteers here, and this can be hard work. And it's great to kind of be part of a team that are trying to make this work a little bit easier and just take some of the pressure off all of these volunteers who are working so hard to do a great job. Now, as I said, club growth is hard work. Anyone involved in the starting or running of a club knows just how much enthusiasm is required to get things going and to keep things going. Now, I was club president last year of my own home club, EI Toastmasters, and so I know this very well. Toastmasters, it's a fantastic organization, so many shared values, self-improvement, careers progression, skills, public speaking, all of that. but then the hard work, it's just a crying shame to think that with all of this enthusiasm there, that for every new club that opens up, one of them has dropped away at the same time. And so myself and my colleagues at District 71 Growth Academy, we hope to be the ones that can actually bring this sorry statistic to an end, or at least reduce it dramatically. And so that is our why. That is why we're getting together and doing this. So Elizabeth went into some of the stuff that we are going to be doing, but I thought I'd elaborate a little more. And, you know, membership churn is something that every club faces. People's circumstances change, you know, they move home, they change their job. So it's inevitable that there's going to be these ebbs and flows. But in 2020, everybody's circumstances changed, and in-person meetings were suddenly cancelled, and we all moved to this format of online meetings. And many clubs faced an existential crisis pretty much overnight. I know my own club saw its membership effectively drop in half in the space of a couple of weeks. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this. It was a very difficult time, and it took a lot of work to get things back on track. We slowly clawed our way back, and we did so using various techniques and strategies. And we ended up the year with more members than we began, despite losing half of our membership through the year. Now, a lot of clubs struggled a lot with this, and particularly corporate clubs. We lost a lot of corporate clubs, but some clubs fared better than others. And what we want to do is, the Growth Academy would like to hear from you guys that have done well. We'd like to collate all of the different tools and strategies that you have found that is effective and working for you, and share them with us so that we can share them out to the greater numbers of clubs throughout the entire district. And if this goes well, who knows, this might be adopted by other districts around the world. Striking a balance between recruiting new members and the retention of existing members is an important skill that involves more than one club officer. And what we've got to remember at all times is that the needs of the bigger organization can't overcome the needs of the individual member who joins. And we have to understand why an individual member has joined, what it was their motivation for joining in the first place. And that's something that I think myself and my colleagues, Zane and Sue, are going to be working on. Zane is going to head up the new clubs, and Sue is going to be looking after club quality and sustainability. We're going to be looking to provide access to best practice guides, resources in each of those categories. And we're going to try to create something that we're still working on, but what we may do is create a regular drop-in clinic that anybody who is involved in building out a club can just drop in and ask questions. And we might do some sort of video Q&A that can be played back then at a later time. It's also critically important that we start to look to the future and consider the impact that going back to in-person meetings could potentially have on club membership across the entire district. Over the last 12 months, many people have discovered and come across new clubs and joined clubs. And Lance, you know, earlier we were just chatting about Qatar and Bahrain and all of this, but there's a huge enthusiasm to go back to in-person meetings. And I think what that risks us doing is disenfranchising all the new online members that have joined our clubs. So we have to start thinking ahead about how we might manage that situation. Are we going to move to hybrid meetings? How are hybrid meetings going to work? Are you going to have some people on Zoom, some people in person? These are all things that we're starting to think about now, because I do think that they are critical. And as we gather up this information, we're going to share it out with you. So how can you guys get involved? Well, we'll always need volunteers, but in particular, we would like to hear from anyone who's found a particular strategy or particular tool, whether that's an online tool or whatever. Let us know, get in contact with us and tell us what worked, why it worked, and how you applied it. And ultimately, let's just work together to get the next 50 years of District 71 firing on all cylinders. And indeed, I'd like to see us achieve this Smedley Distinguished. My colleague Steve is going to share out a link to a volunteer pay, or you can sign up basically, and he'll be sending that out. I think he might have already just done that. And so with that, thank you all very, very much for listening. And I'm going to hand you back to Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. You've certainly set the bar high. You've got to deliver. So before I introduce our special guest speaker, I just want to remind everyone, if you have any questions for anyone, myself, Daniel, Gavin, or Lance, please put them in the chat, and you can write to Steve, MC Steve Campion, and he will collate the questions. And now it's an absolute privilege to introduce our special guest speaker. I actually have to thank the South Africans in the audience, because I went to one of their masterclasses and I heard him speak. I was so smitten that I said to myself, we have to get him to D71. I have to thank him because I wrote to him expecting to say, I can come and see you in 6 months' time, or he was absolutely ready to come and see us. So Lance, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come and see us. And as I said, he's a special guest tonight. He's coming back to do a masterclass. So we've got that great event to look forward to. But the man himself his reputation has preceded him, because he's a 205 world champion of public speaking. I actually went and listened to your speech again today to get myself in tune for this. But I think what has impressed me the most is his sense of adventure. Lance has climbed mountains. He has rafted the roughest whitewater rapids in the US. He actually made his first visit to Ireland while sailing transatlantic from the Virgin Islands to Norway. He's a pilot. He's scuba dived on the frozen lakes. He's hitchhiked across Europe. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. I could go on, but I won't, because I know you're desperate to hear him. All I want you to realize is we're in the company of greatness tonight, and we're absolutely delighted that you're here. So Lance, over to you to inspire us, inform us, and enchant us. Over to you, Lance.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you very much. And yeah, Ireland and District 71 have a very, very warm place in my heart. As Elizabeth was saying, my first trip to Ireland was actually on a sailboat coming up from the Azores, and we landed in southwestern Ireland in a little town called Glandore, which is just east of Skibbering, and had my first Guinness at the pub there. And I've been in love with Ireland ever since. And we came up through the Irish Sea, and then across through the Caledonian Canal and to Norway. And then I got off the boat in Norway and hitchhiked through Norway for a couple of weeks before I had to go back. I was at university at the time, and I didn't want to go back. I was so happy being at sea and seeing the world and how many wonderful people and places I got to explore. So that really had ignited a flame that burned in me before that, but it really turned it on at that point. It was interesting. There was something that happened because of that sailing trip that is why I'm here talking to you today. It's interesting. I think when you look at our lives, we can connect certain dots. The people that I'd sailed with across the Atlantic were very impressed with how I handled myself and the sailing skills I had and the navigation skills. And they were getting ready about 4 years later to circumnavigate the world. And they were going to sell berths on their boat, and people would pay for a different sections of the trip. But they called me and they said, we'd like you to come with us as our first mate. We need someone we can really rely on. We'd like for you to sail around the world with us. And it was a free trip around the world. I'd just gotten out of university, and my family had a milk and ice cream business in Eastern Indiana that was about 55 years old at that point. And I was the only son in the family, and I was driving milk trucks. And I made the decision, people laugh now, but I made the decision to stay in Indiana and drive milk trucks instead of go sail around the world. And what I really wanted to do was sail around the world. And I regretted that decision so much for the years to come, that one of the main things that motivated me to continue to compete in the World Championship, I competed for 13 years, but one of the things that motivated me to continue to on that journey was I did not want to regret feeling I could have been the world champion, but I didn't because I quit. And I never wanted to regret something like that in my life. And what that has come to mean to me is we all have opportunities that life gives us. And that opportunity can be fleeting. It can be there just for a minute or two, and we have to take that opportunity. And one of the biggest areas of regrets that I've seen in my life are the missed opportunities that I've had. And I want you to just reflect on this a little bit with Toastmasters. We all have an opportunity every meeting to run a great meeting. We have an opportunity every year to accomplish growth and expansion in our club, to change the lives of the members in our club. Or we can go in there and not do that. And to me, the biggest regret, the biggest loss I've had in life is not taking advantage of the opportunities that I had. And as we start this year off, I'm president of my club, just so you know, for the third time. And I'm not president, quite honestly, I'm not president because I need the personal experience and growth running an organization. I got that in 1997 when I was president the first time. I'm president because we're in a rebuilding phase and we needed one of the senior members of the club to be president, and it's more of a duty to be president. So I'm back in and we're putting all of our club growth programs in. And for those of you that don't know it, back in the 90s when Toastmasters ranked all the clubs internationally, we took our club up to the number 4 club in the world out of 16,000 clubs. We were the number 4 club in Toastmasters. We had 95 members. We had 57 education completions under the old legacy program. And that was a life-changing experience, probably equivalent to winning the world championship for me. And I really am a huge advocate of strong clubs. I know you were talking about you got 10 clubs, but you lost 11. But really the question in Toastmasters across the world is, great, how many of them have like 30 or 40 members in them? Because to me, a strong club is not 20 members. And unfortunately, I feel Toastmasters International just focuses on this 20, 25 member range. When you get 40, 50 people in a Toastmasters club, you have a dynamic communication and leadership program that really can get a lot of momentum going to it. Now, I also want to let you know that I have seen something that a lot of people haven't seen in Toastmasters, and it took me a while to realize this. I've been out beating the club program since I won the world championship. At least half of what I've been doing is trying to help districts build stronger clubs. I'll help you speak, that's fine. But the real growth I feel is in having a dynamic communication and leadership program that people can come into and change their lives. And I know we've been talking about that. You want to be Smedley distinguished, great. That is going to be determined on how many lives you change in District 71. It's not a district goal, it's an individual goal on how many people you bring into your Toastmasters clubs and how many people's lives change because of Toastmasters. And, you know, I consider Toastmasters to be a little bit like church. And that is, we revive the dead in Toastmasters. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see people come in the club and they're this little huddled shell of a mass and they can hardly talk. And 6 months later, you can't shut them up. They are more alive than you've ever seen before. And that is the beauty of this Toastmasters program. People come back to life. And life is not, in general, it's not a real friendly experience for most of us. We're laughed at, we're told to shut up. We have embarrassing moments speaking. We have stage fright. We can't get the thoughts out of our head and we close down. And in Toastmasters, we learn we can stand there and say something. And it may sound oversimplified, but to me, it just shows the condition that most human beings are in, that we can't talk to each other. And what we do is we teach people to actually communicate. And that is one of the most fundamental components of life that you can have. And I'm really thrilled that you're doing this Growth Academy. And quite honestly, the reason I agreed to jump in on this, I was looking at putting a president's mastermind together for this year, for presidents of clubs to have a place to come to talk about what was going on. And look, I've been in Toastmasters almost 30 years, and anybody who knows me that I love this program. But there's a lot of people that, and I'm going to tell you this, I usually start my talks off with this. I'm not politically correct, and I don't pull my punches, and I pretty much try to call things like I see them. And there's a lot of people that I see in Toastmasters that try to be a good Toastmaster, and they try to do what Toastmasters International tells us to do to be a good Toastmaster. In America, we have a company called Home Depot, and I don't know what you have in Ireland or Great Britain, but it's a huge super center to get all the supplies you need to build your home and, you know, get a new hammer or roofing material or whatever. And I would say Toastmasters International to me is like Home Depot. You can get all the tools you need to build your club, but they're not going to build it for you. You got to swing the hammer. You got to, you know, dig the foundations. You got to frame the walls. They give you the tools. That's all they do. And there's a lot of people I see that start a Toastmasters club or get involved, and there's some feeling that something other than the club is going to build the club. There's some other force that's going to make the club successful. And there is no other force. There's no higher authority in your club than you guys and the members of the club. That is it. It ends. The club lives and dies with the members of the club. And to me, that is not communicated well enough and strong enough. And when I first came in, I had a club. We had about 35 members in my club. It was 1992. And 8 months later, we had 12 coming to the meeting. And I remember we had gone to the district training, and I thought we were the only club in Toastmasters that was struggling out, trying to figure out how to run the club. And I went to the district training, and I realized all the clubs are trying to figure out how to run themselves. So one of the beauties of a program like this Growth Academy is that we get to come together and share what's working. And one of the biggest things I've learned in Toastmasters that I learned growing up, I learned in my adventure activities, I had to do it in my adventure activities or I'd die, is that you had to figure things out for yourself. But what happens in society so often, you know, we start when we're kids and our parents are telling us what to do. And so we learn to do what our parents tell us, or it's painful. Then we go to school and we're told what seat to sit in at what time. And we learn to sit in that seat at the right time, or it's painful. And then we go to work and we're told to sit in this seat and don't rock the boat. And if we like you, someday we'll promote you if we like you. And we learn to do that, or it's painful, not that we get physically harmed, but we get fired or we don't get the promotion. It's painful. So we learn to obey the authorities and let other people try to just get along with the group. But if you come sit in a Toastmasters club, the club will fail. And that's one of the biggest beauties of this program. I talk about reviving the dead. It gets all of us to get off our butts and start to create our own lives and build our own future, because we are typically taught not to do that because it's painful. Now, that happened to me less than it happened to other people, but I had to break that mental component of coming in and sitting there and following the rules and doing what I was told and start thinking for myself. And the growth that can happen through an enthusiastic club that's winning. Oh, and I forgot I started this. I forgot to tell you. I said, I have seen something in Toastmasters that other people haven't seen. And you mentioned Martin Luther King, and he had his famous speech in Memphis where he said, I have been to the mountaintop. I have seen the other side. That's what I feel like in Toastmasters. I have been to the mountaintop. How many people here have been vice president of education at some point in your Toastmasters career? Okay, almost all the hands are up. And if I'm live and I ask this question, I say, what happens in May when you're VPE? And this is I'm going to say it, but this is the answer. You're begging people to complete a speaking level so you can get your DCP point. And they always have a nasal tone. They go, I don't know if I want to do it that fast. I want to do it when I want to do it. I have a tendency to want to make that painful for those people. But here's what happened in my club back in the late 90s when we were building it. We had created such a game of building a dynamic club and being a top 10 club in the world. It was a club goal. Members of the club were calling the vice president of education going, you haven't given me enough speaking slots to finish my CC. I'm not going to be responsible for this club not being a top 10 club. You find me speaking slots. And the VPE's calling us, calling them, guys, these people are yelling at me. We had to go to 2 meetings a week the second half of the year to get everybody's educations through. But the club was demanding it because the club was winning with Toastmasters. And the people's lives were changing. And that's what was driving this whole force. And what I see so often is we get a Toastmasters club and we come and sit in it just like we did in school and think we're going to change. Back in my days of growing up, which was a while ago, Not as long as Ted Corcoran though. Ted's got me beat on that one. Anyway, my parents we used to go to some religious retreats, and I remember the preacher was up preaching one time, and he said, going to church and sitting in the church won't make you into a Christian any more than sitting in a hen house will make you into a chicken. And the same thing's true with Toastmasters. Sitting in a Toastmasters meeting won't make you a great speaker, a great leader, any more than sitting in a hen house is going to make you into a chicken. You got to get up and do it. And what I'm really looking forward to, I have a lot of empirical learned data that we apply in my club that I know works, that you're not going to find in Toastmasters training, because the Toastmasters training is the tools to build your club with. They do not teach you how to swing the hammer. They don't teach you how to drive the nail. They don't teach you those things on how hard you have to hit that nail to get it into the wood. That's what I've learned in these 30 years in Toastmasters. And last year, my club, there's a guy that tracks all the education. My club was 31st in the world for education achievement. Okay? So I was surprised. First of all, quite honestly, I think it's really a poor statement on the other clubs in Toastmasters, because I think we had 54 educational completions, but we weren't trying to be like a top 50 club. We were just doing the normal thing we do every year, is get everybody through the program on it. So I have specific parameters. I have specific metrics that I measure the club by. I have programs on how to promote your club. I have attitudes on you have to go to what's your attitude running your club. Now, we used to have the show in America called The Apprentice. Now that guy got elected president, and some people liked him and some people didn't, but I'm not talking politics. But in The Apprentice, they would come in and you were given a task to go out on the streets of New York and put a business together and run it. What if the game in Toastmasters was the club, we were all apprentices, and you have an opportunity to run an organization. And if you run the best organization, you win £1 million this year. How would that change your viewpoint for being successful in Toastmasters? You see, one of the things that really drove our club is we wanted to be a top 10 club. We wanted the honor of being a top, we wanted to be one of the best clubs in Toastmasters. And quite honestly, number 4 was as high as we were going, because when you looked at what 1, 2, and 3 did, one of them was a military school that had like 130 cc's a year or something, because every student did it. There was no way we could ever do that. Number 4 was as high as we could make it, being a public club like we were. But if we had a reward, and it's one of the things I would recommend to the district, of rewarding the club with the top, and really rewarding them. Give them a new Lexus or something, give everybody in the club a new BMW. Of course, I'm being facetious, but I'm saying, don't give them $25 in the Toastmasters store. Fly me over, we'll go to dinner or something. Let's do something that gets people motivated to build their club and play a game that we change lives with. And I look forward to coordinating with you and helping to give information that your club members can apply to get the twinkle in their eye and the spring in their step of being an enthusiastic Toastmaster who goes out and touches the world. And we start bringing people in and changing their lives and bringing them back to life and letting them know they can have a future, and they don't have to accept what life is giving them. They can start to create and achieve the things in their life that they want. And that, by and large, is what I get out of Toastmasters, why I stay in it. And Elizabeth didn't go over it. I'm in the middle of a launch of a brand new company right now that's covering all of North America on a whole series of commercially sustainable products that save energy and save water and increase plant growth and on farms and things like that. And, it's like the thrill of putting that together and knowing I can do it. A lot of that comes from my Toastmasters experience, knowing I could build a club, knowing I can work with people, knowing I can take weird personalities and make them work, because we get the weirdest personalities in Toastmasters you ever want to meet. But then you run into them out in life and you go, there was someone like you in my Toastmasters club. I know exactly how to work with you. So with that, I look forward to working with you. I look forward to having some great sessions. And I thank you for inviting me to be part of District 71. And at some point, I look forward to coming back over and having a Guinness with everyone.
Thank you very much, Lance. That's very energizing and creating a huge amount of enthusiasm. Thank you. I could just tell people were transfixed throughout your speech and presentation. We're very, very much looking forward to when you do come and do the masterclass that we've been talking about. For the benefit of the rest of our district team, Lance has mentioned something more like Alexis and less like a $25 gift voucher. I will point out that our finance manager, Eileen O'Neill, is leading a committee to look at our incentives right now. And I'm not sure we'll get to Alexis, but she's doing a lot of work with a great team of people in order to make progress with that. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who's been sending me messages. We're into the Q&A session right now, and I'm going to read some of those out. I'm going to ask Lance, Gavin, Elizabeth, and Daniel, split them out amongst the team, those questions. But I would also point out, and I'll post it in the chat in a moment, that the Growth Academy has an email address. Elizabeth's already said what it is, of growthacademy@d71toastmasters.org. Please do send your messages to that. If anything we haven't been able to cover, we will do our best to get back to you. One of my first questions, Lance, I'd like to start with you, because you've talked about the wonderful benefits that we can all get from helping have more members and to help more people get the benefits of Toastmasters. But in your experience, how do clubs, existing clubs, benefit from putting the effort in to starting new clubs?
Okay, there's one thing I got to show you. I pulled this off my shelf. This is the cup I ate in for 8 weeks going across the Atlantic that I was in Ireland with. It's a memento I have up on my shelf there, so I wanted to show that to you. How do clubs benefit from building new clubs? First of all, if we look at what the product of Toastmasters is, and the Pathways training component has changed some of the tools and dynamics of Toastmasters a bit, but still the products we're looking at are the same. And by the product, I mean, what's the finished good that we deliver out of Toastmasters? You might think it's like a competent leader and a competent communicator, but if you look at our organization, we don't have people in the organization that actually are competent leaders, and we don't have official trainers, is what I'm saying, that make you a competent leader. So really what we do is we come in the club and we not only learn how to become a competent leader and a competent communicator, but we learn how to make other people competent leaders and competent trainers. And to me, that's really the final product of Toastmasters, is someone that can build competency in somebody else. And there's no better way to do that. You do it in your club, you do it with individuals, good. Now let's take a group of people in the club and go out and start another club and build that competency in showing people how to work as a team, work as a group, and actually run their meetings properly. And I can get in, there's 4 areas of development in Toastmasters that you apply in life that will make a difference in your life. And speaking's 25% of the gain of Toastmasters, okay? So the benefit is the pride of the success, the pride of helping other people, the pride of making a bigger mark in the world than just going to my meeting once a week and coaching somebody. And that is driven by getting people winning with Toastmasters. And I talk about the twinkle in the eye and the spring in the step. People start to go, I can actually make a difference in the world. Let's start another club and make a bigger difference. The reason I'm here, Stephen, quite honestly, is because I look at how can I make a bigger difference in the world? I can, as a world champion speaker in Toastmasters, I can go help, and I coach a lot of world champions and our people, and I can go coach 50 people a year, but can I build 600 new clubs, or can I help 600 clubs be more productive and help more lives? That's how I become more effective. That's how I become more valuable. That's how I have more worth for myself, is by helping other people succeed. And that you have to have that if you want to be successful.
Thank you, Lance. And actually, you just gave a wonderful, fulsome answer to the next question I was going to ask you, which is, what do you personally get out of this? So thank you for doing that. You're reading ahead on my questions. Well done. Well done. I next have a question for Daniel, actually, which is, we've heard this evening about the importance of focusing on members and helping individual members. Can you explain, please, your view on why being focused on members is essential to the success of clubs, areas, divisions in the district?
I think Lance made that point very, very effectively. Unless we're on fire at the grassroots level, the top is just disconnected. So unless we've got excellence, unless we've got passion, unless we've got life-changing transformation going on, unless we have excellent clubs where every member feels loved, respected and valued and can make their dreams and ambitions become personally true, if none of that's going on, the rest of it is just flapping in the breeze.
Thank you, Daniel. And actually, are there anyone else from our group that would like to comment on that same thing, that member focus?
I'm going to throw something in real quick on it. It's a real simple business organization thing. If the member finds value in the club, they'll stay in the club and continue to promote the club. If they don't find value in it, they're going to go do something else because there's no reason to go to the club. So you have to provide value to your member, and the value comes from the fact that their life is improving. But you got to understand the whole breadth of the Toastmasters program to get, it's not just speaking. That's what I'm saying. It's learning how to coach, it's running meetings, it's the whole game.
Thank you.
Can I add my voice to that as well, Steve?
Please.
I think at district levels, we talk about wanting to become Smedley distinguished, but a district doesn't really own anything. I mean, we're totally dependent on clubs and members. So to me, that's the fundamental unit that ignites the whole thing. So although I can speak the sort of the Smedley numbers and so on, you know, I'm also a member of the club, and my passion is ignited by doing my paths and going to do my speeches and doing roles and so on. But I think we have to get that idea in the heads of everyone that everything happens at the member level. We keep talking about the district, but the district doesn't own anything. You know, we're dependent. So I really would like to get that idea really, really absorbed this year, that we're in this together as club members.
Thank you. And I wholeheartedly agree. And my personal experience as well is probably like many people joined Toastmasters because of being terrified about talking in front of people. And yet actually it's all the other things that you learn are remarkable. And that's what helps us continue to develop. I next have a question for Gavin and then for the rest of the team, because Gavin, I know you're going to be leading the Growth Academy and helping all these ideas get shared. But what do you think is the right balance between focusing that activity on new club growth versus the activity related to helping our existing clubs to flourish?
I think the two have to run hand in hand, because I mean, if you want to grow the club, you know, it's going to stagnate if it's just got the same members over and over. And so new members is good. You know, new blood comes in, new perspectives and things like that. But if you've got a club that is, I mean, when a new member joins, just my view is that the first thing you've got to find out, and this is similar to what Elizabeth has said and what Daniel and Lance have mentioned, is that, you know, it's how do you change their lives? How do you give them what it is that they're looking for? And are you actually aligned with that? I find sometimes that with Toastmasters that the focus is on all of these organizational goals, like, you know, how many points for DCP and all of these kind of things, which is great for the club and the area and all that. And I understand that this is necessary. But at the end of the day, a member joined for their own personal motivating reasons. And whether that's to grow confidence, whether that's they're very shy, or whether it's, you know, they don't speak English as their first language and so they join to try to practice. There's very many different reasons why people join. And the VPE and the mentors, I think, need to know intimately what it is that motivated the person to join, and to make sure that they're actually delivering on that. If halfway through the year, they don't feel like they've changed in any shape or form, then, as Lance says, they're gonna have no reason to stay. So I think rather than the focus being on how many, you know, paths have been completed and all that, well, that is important to some people. To the individual member, I think it's very important that just whatever it was that motivated them to join in the first place, they've seen the dial being moved in that regard.
Thank you, Gavin. No, I think it's a really helpful perspective. Thank you. I think we're in our final minute before I need to move to our next speaker. So I have one very, very quick question for Elizabeth Jordan. How do people get in contact with the Growth Academy team?
Thank you, Steve. As I said, I want every member, and we will be sending out information about this, but I think we're going to use that email address. We're going to use that as a one-stop shop. You write to us, and then behind that, we will be directing your emails to the various teams, and we're going to be very prompt about it. So that's what you've got to do. At the moment, we've got that email address. We'll be telling you what it is. Please write to us. We want ideas, we want questions, we want queries, whatever you've got. We're looking forward to it. We're ready for this. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And thank you to everyone who has spoken this evening and presented. It's been very inspiring. I've certainly been energized, and I was really keen beforehand. So thank you to everyone who has been here. I would personally also like to thank our wonderful Zoom masters this evening, Liz and Nick. Please do give them a round of applause because they're doing wonderful things behind the scenes. And now I would like to hand over to our Programme Quality Director, Brenda Lannon, for a vote of thanks. So Brenda, are you there?
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, everybody, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Past International President, and Lance. It's such a pleasure to have you with us this evening. It's been a very interesting discussion over the last 50 minutes or so. And the important message that I've received or I've got from this session is the importance of having the member at the center of everything that we do to ensure that the member is benefiting from their membership of their club and of Toastmasters. If we keep the member at the center and ensure that their needs are engaged or are met, they will stay with the club, and that will ensure that clubs are retaining their members and growing their membership. Past International President Ted Corcoran tells a story of an acronym that the incoming International President, Margaret Page, said. We all know the DCP as the Distinguished Club Programme, but she changed that acronym to documented changes in people. And that is what the DCP does. When a member stands up and delivers a speech or takes on a role or does whatever in their club, they are growing, they are improving, they are developing themselves. And that is what the DCP records for the benefit of the club and the area division and the district. Lance, thank you very much for your words. I would like to thank Anya, Gavin, and Elizabeth for this really exciting venture, and I look forward to hearing more from the Club Growth Academy. I wish the Academy all the very best for the year ahead, and I would like to pass control of the meeting back to Steve. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brenda. Very well said. Once again, thank you to everyone, to Anya, Daniel, Elizabeth, Gavin, Lance, everyone who's made this event such a success. We're going to close the meeting in just a moment, but before we do that, please do check the chat of Zoom, where you will find a link where you can click on the form to say you're interested in helping out with the Academy, because it's your participation, your involvement that's going to make this a great success. I would like to say thank you to the 6 people who filled it in already. You're all really quick. So click on that link, please, before we close the meeting, and we'll get that to you in other formats as well. There's also the email address has been posted in chat of growthacademy@d71toastmasters.org. We very much look forward to hearing from you. That's it. We're on time. And I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you to our wonderful speakers. And I look forward to seeing everyone at our next Growth Academy event. Thank you.